Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I thought I would try my hand at a de-influencing type of video. I know these have been popular for a long time and I have done some of them myself. I will link my most recent one here. It was probably like a year and a half ago or something. I feel like it has been a long time, but I love watching them. And in fact, I was just watching a fashion de-influencing video from my friend Shauna Rapari on here. I will link her channel here. She makes fantastic content. Some of it is focused on beauty, but she more talks about consumerism as a whole, whereas I specifically focus on makeup. And so, of course, today's video will be focused exclusively on makeup products that I would like to de-influence you from purchasing. Now, I gotta say, I am pretty immersed in the beauty community, but I am not like the most immersed in the beauty community person ever. So I don't actually feel like I'm the first person to find out about new makeup launches. I have made a specific decision to not follow Instagram accounts like Trend Mood. I feel like Trend Mood is the most popular one, but I just mean those accounts that are all about showing you like what the newest makeup launches are. I try to avoid those. I do watch YouTube videos that discuss the newest makeup launches, but most of the content I watch is a little bit more conscious consumerism focused. So a lot of the time with the new makeup products that I hear about that are launching, it's not necessarily positive reviews of those products. And as I mentioned, I love those types of videos, so I wanted to do one myself. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I have been on a conscious consumerism journey since 2019. I've gone back and forth between makeup no buys and makeup low buys. In 2025, I'm currently on a makeup low buy and I have not brought any new makeup into my collection so far this year, which is amazing. I am trying to get my collection down to 125 makeup products by the end of 2025. And so this video is for my audience as well as for myself. I want to hold myself accountable and not purchase new makeup products that I do not need. I am on a makeup low buy rather than no buy for a couple of reasons, but one of them is that there are a few products that I am planning to get at some point this year that I do feel like will fulfill needs in my collection. So obviously I'm not going to talk about that today, but the categories that I will be talking about are specifically things that I feel like I do not need for sure, but even more generally, I don't feel like anyone needs. Like, I try to specifically find products that I feel like are just redundant in the beauty industry. I'm not just de-influencing myself, but I'm also saying like nobody needs this many lipsticks. Even if you're not on a makeup no buy or low buy, you don't need these products. Even if you are not trying to save money and stick to that budget, you don't need these products. So with all that being said, let's just get into it. I feel like this is no surprise. The first product that I'm going to talk about is the new Rhode lip liners. Now, I'm sure you have heard about these even if you are not super aware of new makeup launches. They have just been everywhere. I feel like Hailey Bieber's brand Rhode has had a chokehold on the lifestyle girlies, the beauty influencers, the young female content creators, like across North America and across the world. I, for one, don't fully understand it. Like, I definitely get the aesthetic of the Rhode brand, but the obsession with Hailey Bieber, I don't know, man. I just don't get it. She is not someone that I look to personally for makeup inspiration, but I do feel like I'm a little bit more experimental. I love color. I love trying out new looks, and her makeup style is just kind of uninteresting to me. I also prefer a focus on the eyes rather than the lips, and I think Rhode is much more about the lips. I mean, I don't even think they have any eye products, right? Like, they've got those blushes, the very popular pocket blushes. I won't be touching on those today. And then they've got lip liners and they've got the lip balms, right? Like, maybe they have a brow gel, but they definitely don't have like a mascara, I don't think, or at least I have not heard anything about it. But these freaking lip liners, I've definitely heard good reviews of the colors. People tend to like the colors, but they say that the formula is terrible. Now, I obviously have not tried these products. I have not tried anything from Rhode. I don't even think that brand is available in Canada. I think maybe it's coming to Sephora Canada soon. I don't know. I don't plan to purchase anything from that brand because I don't feel like I need any of the categories that that brand carries. From what I've heard, people like the shades, but the formula is not good at all. It just does not last. I haven't even gone out and sought these videos, but I have seen so many videos of people like showing the product on their hand and then wiping it away and it just completely disappears. And I understand that a lot of the time shade is more important than formula when it comes to products we like, and particularly lip liners, because sure, if the formula isn't great, you can just like reapply it or whatever. But in this case, all the Rhode shades look incredibly similar to all of the other very popular lip liners. And I'm specifically talking about Makeup Forever and even some of the popular MAC lip liner shades and e.l.f. and NYX. This is speaking to a greater issue where there is such an oversaturation in the whole makeup market that you truly cannot create a new shade. You can create new product and innovate. You know, we're seeing a lot of combinations that's like skincare slash makeup. You can have new formulas as technology progresses. You can have new, products can look different. The branding can be new and flashy. But in terms of shades, everything has been done before. Like, you really could not create an eyeshadow shade that has never before been created. There is just so much makeup on the market and there's so many brands out there. You just have no hope of creating a new shade, whether it comes to eyeshadows, blushes, or lipsticks and lip liners. Everything has already been done. So if you're innovating in the lip liner market, I think you should more so be innovating in terms of the formula, because that is where you can set yourself apart. In terms of shade, you can't create something new. There are just so many nude lip liners out there on the market. And so when I see people comparing the Rhode lip liners to their other lip liners, it just feels like that scene in The Devil Wears Prada where this woman is like holding up two belts and she's like, I don't know which one to go with. They're so different and they're like the same. Like the color of the two belts are exactly the same. That's how it feels when I see these lip liners. And I feel like I am going bonkers because they all look identical. And I think if you're the kind of person who loves the shade of the Rhode lip liners, you love all the nudes and they're really catching your eye, I am willing to bet that you already have almost identical versions of those lip liners in virtually the same shades, and you just want more of them. You just want to emulate that type of shade further. You already have your holy grails. You don't need more. And again, this is not just when it comes to lip liners. I think once we figure out what we like, we often tend to buy multiples of the same thing. You might buy the same shirt in 3 different colors. You might buy the same Rhode pocket blushes in 3 different shades. You realize that you love coral blushes, so you buy 4 virtually identical cream coral blushes because that's what you like. But you don't need 3 of the same shirt. You don't need 4 of the same blushes in different shades. You just need 1. They're going to show up exactly the same on the cheek. I definitely fell into this trap in the past. I would just be constantly trying to find my favorite, the best holy grail mascara out there. Even once I found my favorite, my holy grail that nothing could ever top, I was still regularly buying new mascaras to find others that were just as great. I've got to the point where I realized that I do not need multiples of the same thing. So once I fulfill a certain gap in my collection, I don't need to go out and find more of those products that I like just as much. A few months ago, I realized that I did not have a nude blush. So I went out and I got one and it was exactly the shade I was looking for. And then I was set. I don't feel the need to purchase more nude shades, even though this is a perfect shade on me and I wear it almost every single day. I don't need a second one that is virtually identical. I just need this one. And if I one day finish this one, then I can go out and buy another one. but I don't need two to alternate between. This is what I'm trying to work towards in my collection in every category. If I realized that there was a gap, that I had no nude lip liners, then okay, I could go buy one nude lip liner, but I don't need 10 and I don't even need two. One of each shade is fine. One of each blush is fine. One of each type of blush or shade of blush is fine, but that is it. And if the difference in shade between two of your lip liners are so tiny that you could not even tell the difference between them, you don't need them both. You just do not. So yeah, those Rhode lip liners, I mean, it sounds like they're not good, but also I bet you already have Holy Grail lip liners and you don't need to get more just because they are super similar to your favorites. You already have your favorites. You're good. You're set. Because I think the kind of people who are attracted to the Rhode lip liners are the kind of people who already have the approximation of those lip liners. The Rhode lip liners are very clearly similar to or trying to copycat the Makeup Forever lip liners. And you just don't need them all. I'm really on a rampage about lip products today because the next one also happens to be about lip products. I'm going to talk about those Lanz lip balms. I don't even know the proper name. You know, the ones with like the donut hole applicator. Now, I will say that is new. That is kind of an innovation in that we have not seen that type of applicator before. We see a lot that are a doe foot, kind of like this in terms of like lip oils and lip balms, and we see a lot that are the kind of like squeeze tube, the Summer Fridays one, I believe. I will show a picture here. But this like donut applicator, that was new, and I appreciate that Lanz is innovating in that way and creating different packaging, because that is the only way to differentiate themselves, because they are just creating lip balm. And again, every single shade already exists. And I think even more so when it comes to lip balm, because with eyeshadow, there's quite a bit of difference between different shades, right? Like you can go full pigment, you can just do a little bit of pigment. For example, today I'm wearing just a brown on the eyes, but I really could have worked it up to be more so that it would have been a deeper brown. But with lip balm, that is the kind of thing that like wears off as you're talking, as you're eating. And to begin with, the base of it is pretty much clear, right? And so you see these full lines of lip balms or lip glosses or lip oils or whatever you want to call them, where there's 10 different shades, but you show them on the lips and they are very, very similar to each other because they're all clear with just a hint of pigment. And so you can really replicate the shade of any of them by starting with a different base color. The lip gloss I showed just a moment ago, this is red, right? Like this is a strawberry red. Does it show up that way on the lips? Absolutely not. I am wearing a brown lip liner today actually, and then I just have a little bit on top. Even if I were to swatch this on the back of my hand, it's got a little hint of color, but if you rub that around a little bit, like if I rub my lips together, the color is barely there. And so with lip glosses, we can't really take the color at its face value the way that we can often take eyeshadow at their face value or lipsticks at their face value, because it's mostly clear with just a hint of color. Again, if you're pairing it on top of another shade, then that is going to change it somewhat. I honestly feel like with lip gloss, with lip oil, any of those things, you don't need more than one or maybe two if you want one completely clear and one that's more like brownie. I am not a big lip gloss person, so maybe I'm a little bit biased against lip gloss, but when I see people with 10 different shades of lip gloss, I'm like, honestly, what is the point? Why bother? You cannot tell the difference between these different shades of lip balms. Julia Adams actually does videos where she tries out the entire line of lip balms or lip glosses or whatever on TikTok. And so much of the time when she swatches one after the other, I'm like, these are exactly the same. Like, there is no point in showing all of these. The only fact you're driving home is that lip glosses look the same on the lips. Maybe not in the tube, but applied on the lips, they're going to be virtually identical. So the Laneige Lippy looks super cute, but if you've got one of the Summer Fridays ones, if you've got one of the Road ones, you got one of the CoverGirl ones, I think you're good. I do not think you need another lip gloss just because the packaging is slightly different and slightly more inventive, or just because you want to like keep up with the market. Like, that's not a good enough reason. Okay, we've got a couple of things that I want to touch on that I'm going to mention specific products, but I'm also going to talk more generally about why you don't need these types of products. And the first example is full size powder products. I think by this point we have all realized that makeup takes a lot longer to go through than we might have originally thought when we purchased the products. I don't know what I used to think. Maybe that I would get through a blush in 6 months or so. No. Blushes take at least a year, like bare minimum, intentional panning, a year to finish a blush, especially a powder blush. Side note, but you've probably seen a lot of people trying to de-influence you from buying the Rhode Pocket blushes because they are so small, but to me that's actually a benefit. Like, obviously, I don't think you should buy them. I don't think you should buy more makeup in any event, but I actually think it's better to have smaller products rather than larger. Because, like, realistically, have we heard about anyone finishing the Rhode Pocket blushes yet? Has anyone panned it? I've just realized that powder products take forever to get through, whether it's powder highlight, powder blush, powder bronzer, just face powder, like finishing powder. They take forever to get through, and it's super satisfying when you start to see the pan, but it is always a longer process than you expect. Even by this point, when like, I know I'm currently working on this setting powder and I really thought that I would have more progress on it than I do. So even all these years later, it still takes longer than I expect. Because of this, I have realized that it makes more sense to buy smaller products. Like, I would just rather products not take as long to get through. I would rather have minis of a lot of products, especially when it comes to powders. I know that Rare Beauty does minis of their blushes and possibly also their lip products, which I think is a great idea because we've all heard how pigmented those Rare Beauty blushes are and how long it takes to get through them. And if you have a mini, then, you know, you'll get through it quicker, especially because they're liquid. Liquid goes off faster. It just makes sense. Like, have you ever seen anyone finish their Rare Beauty liquid blush? I've never seen anyone successfully pan it. Milk Makeup recently started making smaller sizes of their cream blushes and cream bronzers. And this is not 100% a great thing because I don't think that they actually changed the price. So you're just paying the same amount for less product now. That being said, if you had bought the full-size product, you probably weren't going to finish it anyways, and it was going to expire before you got through it. So maybe it is better in the end. But anyways, I do not think that brands should be making and that people should be buying full-size powder products. When I see the size of like powder bronzers, oh my God, I have one powder bronzer that is 25 grams. I'm not going to finish that thing in my lifetime. Like, I could never buy another bronzer again because I will just be using that until the day that I die. This blush that I showed earlier, this is 4.5 grams. So a fifth, not even a fifth of the size of that bronzer. It's unbelievable. And it's a cream product, so it will not take as long to get through. But I just think brands should not be making full-size bronzers because people are never going to finish them, or at least they should mainly be making smaller sizes or minis and then have the option of the larger size as like the less popular or less mainstream one. I've never tried Polite Society, but I saw that they recently released a new powder bronzer, and that was honestly the first thing that I thought of. I was like, first of all, who is using these huge, large powder bronzers? I know there's those Charlotte Tilbury ones that are very popular, but how often do you see people pan those? It is a multi-year project. So this is just a call out. Please, brands, make smaller powder products. And where there is an option to buy the mini size, buy the mini size. Encourage those brands to create those products because it's just going to be impossible to finish them otherwise. I have this Hourglass palette. It's 3 blushes. I've had it for years. I mean, you've seen people try to pan their Hourglass palettes, right? They will work on one of the shades at a time out of like 3 or out of 6. And it takes them years. I honestly feel like these products just should not exist. Realistically, no one is panning them. And if no one is panning and finishing them, then that is just a failure by the industry, in my opinion. The next type of product that I would like to rant about that is not a specific product, but more kind of a realm, is extremely expensive products. I'm not just talking luxury makeup or luxury skincare. I'm talking about whatever the next level up is from that. Charlotte Tilbury is considered luxury, but you can still afford to own a product. Like, I have one Charlotte Tilbury lipstick. It was a gift, but I think it was like $46 or something. So it's obviously expensive, but that is still, I think, achievable. What I'm talking about is, I think it's actually more like skincare. You don't see that many makeup products that are over the $100 mark. Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes are $100, which to me, that is like the start of the luxury price tag that just should not exist. I'm talking when products are over $100, I just think you do not need that. You should not be spending that kind of money on skincare or makeup. I've tried a couple of those high-end brands like Youth to the People and Drunk Elephant and considered buying the full size of those, and I just could not stomach it. I believe the Youth to the People face cream is like $80, and same with Drunk Elephant. Now, I am not a skincare connoisseur, okay? I like skincare, but I'm not a dermatologist and I don't have perfect skin. You could say, oh, you just don't know enough about skincare. Like, there's a reason why those products cost $95. They're worth it. They are going to heal your skin. But I just don't believe it. I'm sorry, you cannot convince me that a $305 cream is worth $305. Have you heard of Augustinus Bader? There's someone who I follow on Instagram and TikTok, and she is like luxury. Like, everything she buys is designer. All of her skincare products are extremely expensive. And when she showcases these products, you know, people always attempt to justify it. They're like, it's a crazy price tag, but if you really want to treat yourself, you know, it's luxurious. And that's why I use it. And I looked up one of these things and it was just a moisturizer, just a, you know, face moisturizer that was $305. I was just baffled. I am baffled that there is a market for this. I do not think that anyone should be paying that kind of coin for something that you could be paying $30 for. You simply cannot convince me that the ingredients or the effect is going to be such that it is worth it to spend that kind of money, okay? And I don't even think it matters how much money you have. Even if you are making $500,000 or $1 million a year, you still shouldn't be spending that kind of money on beauty products. That money just would be better served going literally anywhere else. And it actually makes me angry to think that there is a market for this, to think that there is a large enough number of people who are willing to spend this kind of money that these products exist. And yet to know that there is so much poverty all over the world. Just for fun, I was looking up other high-priced beauty products. I know there's a lot of perfumes that are very expensive also. Have you heard of Frédéric Malle? There is a perfume called Portrait of a Lady by that brand that retails for $470 doll hairs. I think that was American dollars also, so it'd be even more in Canada. You know, those candles by Diptyque, those retail for $152. When I used to read like Teen Vogue and 17, and they would showcase these types of products. I mean, maybe not those specifically, but they would showcase fashion and beauty items that were like hundreds of dollars. And I'm just thinking, like, who's actually buying this stuff? Like, I just couldn't fathom the idea that people would spend so much more money than they needed to on products. But they must be, because these brands exist. They must be making money. I am at a point in my life where I'm a PhD student. Obviously, I'm not making a ton of money, and so I am not using these products. But I like to think that no matter how much money I'm making in my life, like at no point will I ever be able to justify to myself a $305 moisturizer. No one who is watching this should be spending that kind of money on an individual product. This is not just sabotaging you as a person and your own finances, but think about where you could better place that money. Okay, think about the human rights abuses that are going on right now. Think about all of the charities and not-for-profit organizations and arts organizations and artists and mutual aid funds that need your money. Please do not send that money to these big box stores or these massive retailers owned by billionaires. More than just de-influencing you to save money in your wallet and to ensure that your collection doesn't get too big, I just don't think that that money should be spent that way at all. So the next time you're considering buying that Drunk Elephant moisturizer for $95 when you could get a perfectly acceptable moisturizer from The Ordinary, or I can't even remember the one that I'm using now, for under $30. Just think about that. This next one is quite a bit lighter. Why are high-end brands still including those ugly, unusable brushes in eyeshadow kits? When I was perusing Trend Mood, I found 2 examples of this, okay? The Lancome Blush Subtle Extension. Let me show you this. Do you see that brush? Okay, and the Chanel Joues blush, is that what it's called? Les Joues? Both of these have the brush in it. People do not use these brushes, okay? I remember when e.l.f. eyeshadow palettes used to come with those little eyeshadow applicators, and we all collectively recognized that these were unusable and they were just taking up space in our products. The drugstore has figured that out. However, for some reason, the most high-end luxury brands have not figured that out. And I feel like that's even worse, because maybe some people who are using drugstore eyeshadows and blushes, you know, maybe they don't have makeup brushes because they don't use it that often. That's why they're buying these products at the drugstore that they just randomly chose out. I remember one time I was getting ready with a friend and she never used eyeshadow, so she asked to use mine, and it was one of those little e.l.f. eyeshadow palettes that came with a little applicator. And I came into the bathroom and I saw her using the applicator and I was like, what are you doing? Why are you using that? Use a makeup brush. And she was like, oh, a what? So, you know, maybe that's a thing. But high-end products, if you're spending $80+ on a makeup product, I'm willing to bet you have eyeshadow brushes and blush brushes, right? Someone explain to me. Explain to me why high-end products still sometimes contain those brush applicators. I do not understand. Do not buy these products. That's just a waste of space. And honestly, I think the packaging of these is so ugly. Like, it just feels so dated. My mom has some of those products, like Elizabeth Arden, you know, she had some of those. She had some of the like Lancome eyeshadows, and she got those in like the 90s. I remember growing up and seeing those in the bathroom and like thinking that was from a very specific time period. And I still see that exact same kind of packaging from luxury brands now. And I do not get it. It's so dated. Do not get these ugly products. Okay, I just have 2 more things to mention. And these kind of relate to a previous video I did where I talked about why it's so hard to declutter products. I talked about 2 phenomena in particular, and one of them is the buy to try. And what this means is you are so interested in a particular type of product or a particular application or color that you buy that product just to try it out. Even though you think you're probably not going to like it, you're just so interested and you feel like you need to get in on it. The best example of this is the Huda Beauty ube powder, those purple powders. Now I know a lot of different shades of powder have been getting popular recently. Pink was big for a while, and then coral, and now purple. And it's like honestly the purple of that, which would not look good on me, but definitely does look good on some people. However, I think the majority of people with my skin tone, a purple under eye powder is probably not going to be the most flattering. And yet people are intrigued by this idea, and so they buy to try. And they'll buy it and they try it once and they realize it does not work for them. Do not fall into this problem. Do not purchase the Huda Beauty Ube purple powder simply to try it, okay? I want to de-influence you from purchasing anything that falls into this kind of buy to try option. If you think you might not like it, or you've never tried anything like it before and it's a bit out of your comfort zone, you are just buying to try. Do not do that. And another phenomenon that I talked about in that video was the idea of the fantasy self. This is where you do not reach for certain types of products as it is now, but you have the idea that one day in the future you will. You will be the kind of person that wears more colorful eyeshadow or experiments a little more, wears dark lipsticks. And so you are tempted to either keep products that you own but you never use because of this, or you're tempted to buy products that you already have similar versions to but that you don't use because that's simply not your style. Again, that's your fantasy self. That is not your current self. I saw a couple examples of products that I thought would fit into this. The first one is the Pat McGrath Candy Crush collab. These are lip glosses that are in pretty out there pigments. A lot of them were super, super sparkly. And don't get me wrong, I love a sparkly eyeshadow. And I even am a big fan of highlight. But different colored sparkles on my lips, this is not something that is currently popular, and this is not something that I would like or would encourage anyone to try. If you are interested in how it looks, take one of your colorful eyeshadows, okay? If you've got Urban Decay Space Cowboy, do your regular lip routine and then pat a little bit of that on your lips just to see if you like the sparkle of that. But these shades are so out there. I am willing to bet that you are never going to use them, that this is strictly within your fantasy idea of yourself. Another one is the colorful NYX highlights. Now, maybe you want some variety in the type of highlights that you use. Maybe you want more of a gold shimmer and more of a pink shimmer. And maybe you even want a blush topper that could work as a blush itself or as a highlight. But these NYX highlights are so many different colors. Tell me, are you really going to use a green highlight? How? How is that going to work? Okay, what kind of blush would you wear that would work with a green highlight? I just do not know in what world this would make sense. This is very much the like fantasy self idea. Sure, maybe some of these would look good as eyeshadows, but then use your colorful eyeshadows. I'm sure you have all of these shades in eyeshadow versions. Do not get a highlight that you will use one time as a highlight and then will try to make work as an eyeshadow the rest of the time. Just do not go for it. This is not you. The final thing that I feel like is very fantasy self-coded is colorful mascaras. I actually used to own quite a few different colored mascaras back in like when I was in high school. I feel like they were first popular then, and now of course they've come back onto the scene. And I know brown mascara is very big, and it has been for like a year or two. So I'm not talking about brown mascara when I talk colorful mascara. I'm talking about like the purples and the blues and even the white and the sparkly mascara. You are not going to reach for these on a regular makeup day if you are just like a regular makeup wearer, okay? If you are a super like colorful, inventive person when it comes to makeup, okay, maybe you would reach for these, but think about what kind of occasion. Okay, what did my days look like this week? What activities have I had? Yesterday, I had a couple of Zoom meetings. Would I have worn colorful mascara for those? No. Okay, the night before, I went to the ballet with my partner. Would I have worn colorful mascara? No. Okay, today I went to an academic conference. Would I have worn colorful mascara to that? No. So if I can't think of any occasion in which I would actually wear the colorful mascara, I don't need it. This is a buy to try. This is a fantasy self. This is a you want to be more inventive with your daily makeup, but it's not worth buying a new product on the off chance that you do. Maybe one is okay. Okay, maybe if you really, really like brown mascara, maybe you can try like a deep burgundy, because that's not going to be too out of your comfort zone. But that sparkly mascara or that green mascara, that is not you. Okay. So that is it. Those were all the products that I wanted to talk about today. Again, I haven't done a de-influencing type video in a while, and I feel like this was a little bit different than the de-influencing videos that I see people make. I put a little bit of my own spin on it, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you are currently trying to convince yourself that you do not need. I would love to hear if any of the products that I talked about in today's video have been on your wish list, and if I helped prevent you from purchasing it, that would be incredible. But let's talk quickly about a book that I've been reading lately. So I'm currently reading White Negroes, When Cornrows Were in Vogue and Other Thoughts on Cultural Appropriation by Lauren Michelle Jackson. I'm about 50 pages in and it's only about 170 pages, so this is very short. No idea how I originally heard of this. Again, this is one that I've had on my library holds list for a long time and I'm just working through the backlog, but it is exactly what it sounds like. It is about cultural appropriation and specifically how white people have taken from Black culture. They have extracted the ideas and all of the labor and the artistry of Black ideas and Black music and Black fashion and vernacular and repurposed it for their own and then profited off of it without actually attributing that music or that artistry to the original creators. It goes section by section. So the first part was about artists and it focused specifically on Christina Aguilera and how she very much appropriated Blackness. And now there's a section on the Kardashians, especially Kim Kardashian and her appropriation of Blackness. So yeah, it's super interesting. Again, I'm not quite a third of the way in, so I haven't read that much, but it's very dense, very well written. And I would recommend this if you are looking for a short but informative nonfiction book. And you know, it is cultural appropriation. I do feel like sometimes walks a thin line, and so this delves more into that. But that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you next week.